Check. 1, 2. There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the GTR show number 22. Have we got a show for you today? First of all, great to see you. Been working on a bunch of things in the background that I am super excited about sharing with you. I am frequently kind of retooling what I'm going to be doing here on the show, thinking about what it is that I want to do, why I want to do it, and how I'm going to approach doing it. But it doesn't matter without you. So just want to say thanks. The interesting thing is as a musician, one of the things, we operate in a couple, let's just say 3 paradigms now. Let's see if I can track all 3. 1, we operate in the moment. That is to say, we are responding to whatever the heck is going on around us. Is it the band? Is it a track? Is it something that happened that made us feel good? Is it something that happened that made us feel bad? We're responding. Number 2, Steve Vai, when I was studying at GIT, came and gave a seminar many decades ago. And one of the things that he said was he doesn't practice for his best day, he practices for his worst day. And that always stuck with me because I'm like, wow, what happens on the day that you pick up the guitar and go, wow, nothing has happened? And trust me, that happens for every guitar player. They just kind of like, whatever magic was there yesterday doesn't seem to be coming out of the instrument today. And then conversely, there's the third kind of thing that happens is kind of like, there is some magic there. Even on the worst day, there's something there. And what we're focusing on in this kind of next moment here with this channel and the show is focusing on how to get there. And all of those things are in a response to my buddy that really kind of lit the fire, Russell Keenan, one of my students that I met at, must have been Vi Academy down in Southern California. And I kind of had a little bit of a reaction a couple of weeks ago as I was talking about kind of the modes and whatnot. And basically, there's another very highly esteemed, great guy, YouTuber. I don't know him personally, but he's got a really great vibe, who's put out a big kind of 70-some-odd page mode book. I'm like, man, it's like, it shouldn't take 70 pages to explain something so, in my opinion, straightforward. And that's not a knock on him. I just think he probably got incredible amounts of detail, so it's probably great value there. I am basically checking out everybody's everything because I'm in the midst of creating a series of kind of standalone, I hate to use the word products, but if we were to talk about, kind of what it is you produce a product for people to consume, and hopefully gleefully so. But basically, this thing's called mode maps, and the idea is to give guitar players the ability to map the modes laterally, linearly, and diagonally, and do so in a series of keys going from the bottom of the neck to the top of the neck. That is to say, G major, G Dorian, G Phrygian, G Lydian, G Mixolydian, G minor, G Locrian. And each of those tonal centers, those modes, their relative modes up and down the neck. And by the time you learn to basically be able to go, hey, the first, there we go. I'm going to get a little cross bleed between this business and my shotgun. Hang on a second. There we go. But the idea is if I were to take the first 3 notes of the G major scale and the first 3 notes of the A Dorian, B Phrygian. Hang on, let me see if I can kill the delay for but a moment because we're going to be coming back to that delay in a serious way. But right now, Mr. Delay, you can go bye-bye. Are you there? Okay, let's see there. Let's get rid of you. Oh. Not only that, there were 2. Hey. So if I were to take the first 3 notes of G major, A Dorian, B Phrygian, C Lydian, D Mixolydian, E minor, F sharp Locrian, and G major, instead of stacking them at their relative location, played them at G. You can hear the first 3 notes of G major sound different than the first 3 notes of G Dorian, which sound different than the first 3 notes of G Phrygian. So the concept is, most importantly, bigger than any of this stuff, when you go to play some sort of you are hearing the vibe of what you're going for. That is to say, we want to make sure that if there's anything that gets plugged in, the ears, at the end of the day, are arguably the most important thing that we can do. One of the other guitar methods that I've been kind of looking at. They talk about the idea of the guitar player, that head back thing. And while, there's some really things that I'm like, don't make it so cheesy. Make it cool. Make it fun. Have amazing graphics that people are like, I am so excited about this. I can't put my guitar down. The point being is that head back thing, where is it the guitar player goes? Are they just regurgitating lick number 103? I doubt it. They're in that space where it's a combination of improvisation and the ear is just wide open, pulling ideas down. So this is one of those things that really got an internal conversation that I'm trying to layer the structural levels on to really. What's going on, Tom? Great to see you. Two Toms. And I'll say hi to everybody in a moment, but I saw the two Toms pop up in my little feed there. This is for you guys. You guys. So the deal, and first of all, thanks for coming. I'm going to do everything I can to jam-pack this with as much value, quoting my buddy Sean Cannell, as is possible. So here's the thing, is that the idea is when the head's back, what is really going on? We're not regurgitating the licks, although we will play some licks that we've played by memory and by ear and all of that. But it's kind of this mode where you're in random access and you have this freedom to grab all these things, including pulling down the ideas that you've never played before. But the other thing is that it's kind of like, I remember being a kid playing that Atari race car game, where you just like, and you had this freedom where you're just flipping, cutting loose. Most of the guitar players I know, and I'll be really honest, I'm gonna try and keep the talking to a minimum, but it is important to frame this conversation. The 17 and 18-year-old Doug Doppler had been studying with Joe for a couple of years, about 2.5 years at that point. All of a sudden, kind of the light switch went on, and I got good. And I was ferocious. I was fearless. I was like, "Argh." And somewhere in the back of my mind, I think many of us, if not all of us, kind of go, there was a younger version of myself that was either more practiced up or just, hadn't been beat up a little bit, kind of by bands and records and all the stuff that happens in the midst of life, that was fearless. I want to inspire people to get back to that person. Because for me, that guitar player, there's a couple of Dougs that I love most. That 18-year-old Doug Doppler was just, and I was just like, it was all in front of me, and I was in the process of discovering it. So I want to say to you, that if you feel that the discovery is behind you, you're wrong for all the best reasons. And that's my job, is to help you see above the trenches where you've been shell-shocked by like, I got great in the first 5 years in the past, fill in the blank, have been, my development has kind of crawled along. I got some new ideas, but that's most guitar players, by the way. I have been fortunate enough that I studied with this guy, Satriani. I am, as a music educator, always kind of like, it happened, I've mentioned this before, this Petrucci camp where I went, I've been teaching the same crap for a couple of years. I'm done with that. That guy, gone. You're fired. So, and I kind of went, well, I want to get back to the 18-year-old Doug Doppler. The other one is the NAMM show Doug, where I kind of like, there was a purpose. And I'm saying this for those of you who have been in bands, why that's relevant is it enabled us to hang our hat on a band. We could go out and do a show. We had a certain amount of swag. It's like, I got my guys, I got my band. That's different than being you and a guitar and, I don't know, a camera. You with me? I know you are. And so the point being is that we have to figure out a way to get past this. So the idea here is I'm kind of choosing to take everything that I've learned in all the years of guitar playing and kind of going, well, what if I undigest it? What if I, dare I say, vomit all this information up, take a look at it, poke through the things. Isn't that gross? Kind of go, oh, okay, this is what this is, and kind of go, well, what if I spoon-fed that to you guys? Oh, that really sounds disgusting. So what I want to talk about is like, what are the elements? And we're going to start off this week with just kind of really some things to immediately make you kind of go, let's just change your head a little bit, but also give some ideas to the fingertips. Now, I did put together a progression. One of the things you're going to be finding that is going to be a big part of our journey together is having some backing tracks. And by the way, I am, to clarify this thing, as much as I'm creating content, my idea is to not turn people into customers. the people that I know through this channel, the largely the people that I know in some sort of teacher-student relationship, I just want to grow and nurture that opportunity to do this thing together. The operative words is together, because I watching some of this course curriculum stuff, I always feel like, man, they're just trying to sell me, upsell me, and all of that stuff, and it feels like crap. I want this to be an amazing experience where you're going like, I got a guitar coach. Guitar coach sounds kind of dumb, which is why I'm shying away from it in this moment. But the point being is that's really, if I were to describe what it was that I wanted to do, that's what I want to do. All right, so on the list of great guitar solos, first thing, oh, I got to have a little bit more delay to do that. Hang on a second. Let's get that. Which one of you? All right, so that right there, first on the list, sass. It's this kind of, it's not so much even about the notes. It's just kind of like that sassy business. What's going on, Michael? Great to see you. All these people, hang on a second. Let me, before I continue down the list, let me say hello to everybody who deserves it. Bruce, thank you so much for your email this morning, man. You were right there. Peter Davidek, I love you to death. You know that. Tom Atkins, again, great to see you, my friend. Can't wait to see you. Tom Cutts, great to see you. Daniel King, hello. Good morning to you. Melissa Doppler, the best. David Tedeschi, hello, my dear friend. God bless you, my friend. Michael Mitchell, still with you, my friend, after all these. Rick Costa, yes. Okay, so let's get back into this thing. Sass Doppler, I love that. So next on the list, because as I was playing, basically I spent the entire day yesterday, besides doing some work for Bruce, playing, kind of going, what is this solo thing? What makes solo great? So there's this other thing called the walk. And the walk is one of the places where guitar players have a real problem. And so, all right, Mothra is deciding to be in the live stream today. The walk is about kind of this, and it's not just being able to map the pentatonic or whatever it is up and down the neck is an important part of that. But the and that kind of casual kind of walk, I'm just like, you're out for this kind of casual walk. So, man, you get that walking stick and you're just like, yeah, man, boom. It's a really important part of a great solo because one of the challenges for many guitar players, how do I get from point A to point B? So just hang out and just kind of go, all right, well, let me just take a walk, and you begin to discover pathways. One of the things back in the Joe days, I got a little bit of a gate on there, and I'm a tiny bit out of tune. So he showed us a couple of different routes for playing the major scale. I'm obviously looking around here for an extra tuner that should be here, but is elusively not here. All right, hang on a second. I'll deal with that momentarily. The point being is that having some pathways to map the neck is an important part of this. All right, next up, blues rock licks. Now, what do I mean by blues rock licks? Something that is kind of pentatonically, and in its most organic, just boiled down state. some sort of pentatonic-y. Maybe there's a sequence, just some sort of repeating idea. But just those. All right. Mixed sequences. All right. Now this is where we kind of get into the, I wouldn't say fun stuff, because the other stuff is really super important. Here's the thing. All of these things are all super important, because what we're actually trying to do is give you the freedom as you're going to solo to have all these different types of ideas and things to keep in mind. Why is this important? The idea is, most of the time, for most of us, we pick up the guitar, we play the same licks in the same places over and flipping over again, and it's flipping, thank you very much, Boredom City, all right? So here's the thing is, I don't want you to live in Boredom City, and this is kind of the cool thing, because as you watch a guy, I don't know, like Steve Vai, he always seems like he's just kind of inspired. And for those of us who have done the camps, one of the great things is watch Steve play with the campers, right? And the interesting thing is that when he was in Long Island at the last Vi camp, one of the things I noticed he was doing is he was purposely playing outside notes. And I'm like, oh, look at this. He's utilizing this moment to find some notes that don't necessarily fit, quote unquote, diatonically, and he's purposely playing them. I'm like, it was fascinating to watch Steve use a live, quote unquote, performance jam moment to step outside the safe zone and just discover stuff. So first of all, the discovering part of the guitar player is one of the important things. And the neat thing is that as I'm throwing these different ideas at you, I'm not necessarily showing you an exact lick, although some of that stuff, dare I say, I've temporarily coined them lick packs. Backing track, specific licks, specifically mapped out, so you have specific places to place your fingers, so you know specifically what it is that you can do, and then steal it, revamp it, rebake it, flip some of the notes around, and then you have a vocabulary of things to steal from. But the idea of what are the different types of things that we can do, this is where we're going. So mixed sequences. The idea... we're mixing different types of sequences together. And the thing is, changing it up like that is for me kind of where the money is at. That's what I'm down with. Because when it comes to fast playing, a lot of people play and they play some repeated sequence. Not that there's anything wrong with it. But being able to kind of get, right? So that little flair. What was that? The Office, whatever the heck it was, Office Space, right? With flair. Jen had flair on her little uniform. Little things that you can kind of go, this is how I break out of the stuff that I play over and over and over again. I'm just as guilty of that. And this is as much medicine for my inner guitar player as it is for yours. All right, next on the list, resolution tones. Now, this one is going to change your world. Really? All right, so many of the people that I have the privilege of knowing and working with are studied musicians. Some with me, some with, I don't know, me and Steve Vai and Joe Satriani from the guitar camps, etc. So here's the thing. We kind of know if you're in the key of, I don't know, G minor, G Dorian, whatever it is, the chord tones of that G minor chord are the best resolution points. So I kept going back to the 5. Here's the deal, is you keep going 5, 5, 5. Eventually you kind of go, gosh, give me that. All right, so know the tones of your root triad. So here's the dealio. We're in the key of G, I don't know. G Dorian. So our root triad is going to be a G minor, which is going to be G. Those three notes, that's going to be a G, A flat, and a G, B flat, and a D. Losing my mind. So the idea, B flat there, a Doppler. That's B at the 12th fret on the B string, in case anybody was wanting to know. And beginning to run. And finding some places on the neck that you don't normally go. And a really systematic way to do it. All right, let me find the G on the low string. Let me find the G on the D string. Let me find the G on the... Did I say the D string? I meant the A string. G on the G string. G on the B string. And the G on the high E string. And then so... That sounds familiar. That G string's out of tune. I'm not going to pull that one off today, but the point being... right, we're in G Doran. I'm going to go to G minor. I'm going to tune again, but we're going to be in the key of G minor. This is kind of, for right now, we're not going to talk about the note names of the key. But we are going to talk about just these triads here for a quick second, and most of the time I was playing a G and a B flat and a D. So I'm specifically targeting that B flat, that D, obviously G, point being is if you're going, okay, I'm going to add some other notes to the mix of this, but that G, B flat, and the D, I'm like, okay, I'm thinking about those. Okay, and here, just a little quick aside, as a chord progression goes through different little... Sorry about the gate. The resolution chord, the notes in that chord aren't going to sit well against a chord that's on either side of it. So the point being is that each one of these chords has its prime resolution tones. But as an overarching theme, the place to start is just go, let me identify where the resolution tones are for the tonic chord and start there. Once you have that concept in place, you can kind of begin to go, oh, okay, I can do... let's see. Resolution tones. I can do that. Okay, so my chord progression was G minor, C minor, F major, D D minor. G, C, F, D. Okay, I can do that. Now, what I'm purposely doing, I'm targeting that, what was it, a G? The C? The F? D? And all of a sudden, like, whoa. Okay, let's back up a step. Like, flipping, wait, what? Because you're already doing that. You just kind of went, I already do that, but I didn't necessarily know I was doing it. Or you did know that you're doing it. The point being is just kind of going, all right, hold on. Bass note each of those chords. G, C, F, D, G, C, F, D. All right, then kind of going, okay. Then what starts to happen is you hear it. It's not like this is rocket science. It's just kind of like, just kind of going, wait a second, what's really going on? So I basically spent a bunch of time soloing and went, all right, let's break this down. All right, that bit right there, if you're not already consciously doing that, will absolutely revolutionize your world. You'll be like, wow, I'm just strategically picking the bass notes, finding out where they are, using just kind of being conscious, kind of landing. I'm not kind of like, I'm not trying to go. But if I. Sorry, C minor. That's 5. Sorry, let's back up a step. G is my 6th chord. C minor is my 2. F is my 5 chord. And then it's going to be my 3 chord. Right, of course, I knew that. So 6, 2, 5, 3. 6, 2, 5, 3. I didn't like the way I played the 2 chords, so let me play that again. The idea is you're kind of going, oh, okay. So if we're going to actually directly outline the notes of the chords, then we can kind of go, all right, let's do, let's do that. But the idea is that you can map that out for all the chords, but you don't need to start there. It's a little bit more than needs to happen. But again, there's obviously some stuff there. The most important exclamation point I can put at the end of that sentence is that it's a discovery process. The most important thing, if I could lead you into one thing that would be my number one goal, would be to lead you into a place where you're excited about the guitar in a way, instead of thinking like, just play the same crap over and over, flipping A. The longer I play, the more repetitive and less exciting it gets. It gets more repetitive and less style, as it was like, wow, there's a lot more. Not only is the like we all know we have that. There's a lot more feeling, but not only that, it's like I'm about to flip and discover that. That's the best feeling in the world. Moving intervals. Okay. The funny thing is there were a couple of little descriptions that I knew I was going to kind of go, what was I thinking? Because at the moment I was thinking something, but in this particular moment. Is a good example. And you heard me kind of like, oh. And you all of a sudden like, oh, let me add some more, some ingredients to that. And you're like, again, discovery. Moving on. I'm sorry, let me back up a step. So that means that I'm, and at that point, I'm not chasing scale shapes, and I'm not classically chasing interval shapes, right? That is to say, if I were to just take, I don't know, fifths. It is a Gibson. What do you expect? Did I say that? Let me give it a little bit of a stretch. This poor guitar. There's a great. I can't find it. There's a great. If you search for it, Still Got the Blues backing track that I found on YouTube. Just search for it. It's really, really good. And so this poor guitar got Gary Moore eyes last night, so it's still kind of recovering. Point being is that rather than kind of just that. Now the other thing about that, great example of what I'm trying to show you. Oops, that's what happens when you don't listen. So listen. So moving intervals, that's really nice. All right, tasty licks. I ended up with a walk. So all of a sudden, the great thing about this is like you go, look, if I'm cooking with more ingredients and I've spent some time massaging each of those different ingredients, I now can cook a better omelet, right? And it's just like it's just flipping cool is what it comes down to. All right. Chromatics. Okay, now this is an interesting thing because it gets back to that Steve Vai comment. If you listen to what Steve plays, most of what he plays is pretty diatonic. Hang on a second. I see something coming in here. Lincoln Brewster licks, please. Okay. All right, hang on a second. Let me back up a little step here. Captain Scarlick. Hello, my dear. Larry Mitchell. This is usually the point where I get nervous. Like the hold on, what does he say? Mouth. Right, the mouth. All right, hang on a second. Let me back up. Larry, I adore you. So, let's back up just one step. I'm going to hit the pause button and let's talk about Larry Mitchell, because that's a great topic. What I love about Larry, and this is the thing is that I would encourage everybody that's inspired by a player to just kind of go, okay, what are all the different things that they did? So part of my process yesterday was going, one of the things that I love, and I'm gonna jump from Larry Mitchell to Joe Satriani and then back to Larry Mitchell, two of my favorite people and favorite guitar players, is that when you listen to Joe in the framework of a track, everything he plays feels really intentional, but loose at the same time. And I'm like, it's the strangest combination of things because you can tell there are things that he does that are licks, but yet they're really incredibly spontaneous. And the thing is, I've never heard Larry Mitchell do anything that ever felt or sounded cant. It always feels like he's just in the flow. If I were smart, I'd be asking Larry questions because he would do the big review. But the idea is, we're often on the outside of players kind of going, what is the magic? What is it that they're cooking with that makes what they serve up so tasty? So the idea is this range of ingredients is you can kind of use it as a lens to kind of, what is it that Larry does that works so well? And one of the big lessons that I learned this year, and it's kind of always with me, and I have yet to thoroughly unpack it, but one of the things that Larry talked about, and I've mentioned here before, is the idea is like, you don't have to always be in stereo Doppler. And it really, because Larry is a Grammy Award winning producer, one might actually want to listen to a guy like that. And the idea is that, part of it is that there's a balance that we fight internally where we go, this is kind of instinctively what I do. But when somebody from the outside throws a wrench in the machinery that really might kind of makes you go, it just kind of eats at you in a really positive way. It's not like we've been watching Ink Masters, the way these people just sit there and heckle each other. It's just flippant. I am so glad I hang out with musicians instead of Ink Masters. In the 80s, it was a little different. People jabbed each other. People are cool nowadays. The point being is that the idea is when somebody's like, hey, man, you need to not always just play in stereo. Because when Larry opens up the stereo field, you're like, the gates of heaven have opened. He's very, very smart about that. So the idea is if we take that approach and both listen to what Larry does as he's soundscaping, he's playing, just slice and dice what it is that appeals to you, kind of go, oh, he does this thing. Oh, he does this thing. Because people are so busy chasing an exact lick. It's one of the curses of YouTube. You can learn a lot by playing exact licks. Nothing wrong with that. But there's nothing like just kind of going, what's the essence of what's going on? It's why The Pump by Jeff Beck, I didn't play along with it for weeks at a time for the years of my childhood to learn it note for note. I wanted to go, where's Jeff feeling the time? What are the notes he's resolving to? Show me what you're thinking, Jeff. Journey, same thing, so sometimes playing over the track will be a big reveal. In any case, Larry, I am always thrilled and humbled when you show up. And I always like to pay the appropriate homage. And you know what, Larry, I have never seen you play a Les Paul. I would flippin' love to hear you play a Les Paul because that guy, holy cow, the Larry Mitchell Les Paul player, I want to meet that guy. Holy cow. That gets us to a brief side point. The idea that, oh, there goes the pick. I unfortunately have another one of those. The Les Paul player. That's a different player. So guitar players, this isn't on the list, but it needs to be now. You cannot, I love you dearly, you cannot play the same way on one guitar that you do on the other. This is the thing that just drives me nuts about some of the Gear Page folks, who I love generally very dearly because they're really super passionate about what they do. But it's like, I don't like that speaker. I don't like that. And I'm just like, dude, that speaker doesn't like the way you play. Douchebag. Did I say that? I really did. And it's really just like, you just haven't learned how to play on it. Sonny. Larry Mitchell, perfect example. I've never heard him sound bad. He can walk into any situation and go, I got this, son. the difference between people like Larry Mitchell and the whiners on the gear page, I'm not calling the whole bunch of gear page people because I'm one of them, whiners, but I'm talking about the whiners on the gear. I don't like a vintage 30. You know, guess what? There are a crap ton of people that love a vintage 30. Get over it, park your attitude, pick up the guitar and practice instead of buying another piece of gear, dickhead. Did I rant? Ooh, that felt good. So the point being is that you got to sit with it and just kind of go, let me figure this thing out. That's what's so great about that Gary Moore track. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do everything I can to just kind of channel my inner Gary Moore and just kind of figure out how I can get to that Les Paul place. Because the great thing about that Les Paul player, so different than an Ibanez player like myself, just in a totally, and the interesting thing, you know, it informs my Les Paul player about some other options. So I can bring some of the legato Ibanez player into this journey in a way you're kind of like, didn't see that coming. People are kind of like, oh, that was cool. The danger of shredding too much on a Les Paul is immediately people go, oh, they're doing that thing. So you want to watch out. The other important thing about the Les Paul, and this is part of the soloing thing, and this is a big part of my journey, a big part of why I'm so excited about all of this. You know what? Quick aside, I'm easily distracted. I hate the look of headstock tuners, but this is one of those all black dudes, and it's not visible, which I kind of love. I just flippin' hate the way headstock tuners look. They just look stupid. All right, back. So the idea, the right hand, and it's not necessarily one of the kind of the elements here, because in a minute I'm going to get to chromatic, so I'm going to fold chromatic into all of this. One of my favorite things about the chromatic thing, and I will bring the right hand in. So I was kind of like, well, okay, every place is a whole step. So I had kind of cool. I don't want a little Steve Morse on you. So initially the idea started off just taking any of the diatonic whole steps and then I kind of went hog wild. And the interesting thing about using it, I'm filling the gap, and this is where knowing your scale numbers between the 5, flat 6, flat 7, and I target. The first time I didn't do it, I did my resolution like that, and I just missed it. But thought-wise, so that's chromatics. Purposeful wrong notes. All right. This is one of my favorites. I'm purposely playing the natural 6 over a flat 6 key minor. And it just allows me to bring in a little bit of that classic rock, the slightly uninformed player that doesn't necessarily know that they shouldn't be playing a natural 6 over a flat 6. But it creates this kind of like, that was a wrong note, but it sure felt good, right? Which gets us back to this whole thing of like, hey, we want this to feel good. We actually want it to feel great. And so, yeah, boom. So, so that is to say we're going to... I'm going to go all hog wild on those. Because the neat thing is I'm just, to open up and say, okay. I've never been a big chromatic player, but it always felt a little, when I heard people do it, it often just felt forced. And so, but, which is why I shied away from it. But I kind of went, well, how can I bring the chromatics into this in a way that feels good? Purposeful wrong notes. Okay. Milk notes. Oh, yeah, one of my favorites. Okay. Earlier, I mentioned the 18-year-old Doug Hopper. One of the things I was super excited about playing really fast. Alternate picking, great. Legato, great. Tapping, awesome. Didn't know the neck nearly as well as I do now. But in terms of, there was a thing. So today a milk note would usually involve a bend and some vibrato. A single note. And it can be accompanied by a little grimace, right? You got to have a little face thing happening there. So that's good. All right, single string sequences. Hang on, let me just check in on the chat here real quick. All right, first of all, let me, again, Shane, I love you to death. R.L. Lynch, what's going on, man? Remind you, that gets brought on screen here. All right, so first of all, so the art of imitation, first of all, there are very few compliments you could ever give a guitar player that could top, you remind me of Gary Moore. It's like, first of all, little goosebumpies. By channeling our favorite guitar players, here's the thing. Let's clear the board here for just a couple seconds here. It's really easy to look at a guitar player. Let's go to Joe Satriani. The thing that amazes me, again, when I listen to a Joe Satriani studio solo, I'm just like, he's so focused and relaxed and so clear about what he's doing. I'm just like, you know, I've known him for the majority of my walking years, definitely the majority, all of my driving years. But just listening to he is so informed about the track. I realize, like all musicians, he has a chance to play along and kind of figure out what he, maybe map some ideas and go, oh, I'm going to do some of this. But it never feels like he's regurgitating, even though you're hearing licks that you go like, I've heard that. But it's like a card player that instinctively knows how to do this. So the instincts are a really important part of this thing. The great thing about playing over somebody's track, and that Gary Moore still got the blues backing track, I'm kind of like, oh, this is where he's singing. Because that took me a minute, no, it took me a decade to kind of go, man, how do I begin to swim where Gary swims, right? He's just got this looseness in the time. He just feels, and I saw Gary at a little baby club called Wolfgang's in the city. And on that tour, it was just like, amazing. And, so the idea was like, how do you do that? And you just kind of like, it's kind of like, I'm going to say the funniest thing here, but I think you can understand what I'm saying. I think all of us have had the fantasy, what it would be like to be a fish, to be able to go underwater and to be able to not have to surface to breathe. You with me? Or at least the analogy thereof. It's kind of like flying, right? If I jumped off a tall building, I would not be flying by the time I hit the ground. I would be levitating downwards. There would be no flying actually going on. The point being is that feeling of being able to transcend musical gravity, which is like, oh, I'm going to crash and burn, as opposed to like, well, how do they do that? How they live up in the atmosphere like that? And it's just a matter of like, let me play along, not note for note. Let me just play along and feel where he's sitting in the time. Let me kind of begin to hear where he's resolving. Again, that thing that we did a little earlier with oops, that was an E flat. And begin to kind of go, oh, where are the notes that he's resolving to? Now, one of the other things is beginning to do a little backtracking, which is like, well, who would Gary Moore have been listening to besides all the blues players? There is a... I'm totally forgetting his name. No, it's come back to me. I don't remember what key R right now is in, but Paul Kossoff. There is absolutely no way on earth that Gary Moore didn't listen to. Paul Kossoff, because Paul Kossoff arguably had the best blues rock vibrato ever. Gary Moore, in my opinion, there's just no way, being of the generation that Gary was, didn't kind of go, I want to own some of that. So it's beginning to kind of go, what is it? And here's the thing, is like, Gary Moore, I will never be a Gary Moore, but I have the privilege kind of being able to go, let me go milk from the Gary Moore note cow. And, I think that guy would be thrilled that people are still just like, that guy, because what he brought to the instrument, is incredibly special. And that guitar, let's talk about Greenie for a moment. It's great to see Kirk Hammett is actually playing that guitar. That was the Peter Green from Fleetwood Mac guitar. That was the Gary Moore. That's still got the blues guitar. It's just like flipping A, right? There's a great Montreux Jazz Festival video of Gary playing that. So go YouTube that in a minute. The point being is just like, hang out and play over that backing track and kind of go, let me take a walk and figure out where this stuff is. It is a thing. Getting back to this Les Paul player thing, and I started to talk about it for a minute. The right hand, I cannot play this guitar with the right hand the way I can get away with playing a Fender scale instrument. The scale means that if you hit it as hard as you do, the notes just kind of... they'll just bottom out. But that doesn't mean you can't. And again, I'll be I jumped out of the Demiolo mode there, but that was originally a Paul Gilbert lick, right? Sorry, that was originally an Al Di Meola lick that Paul very wonderfully adapted. So that's basically... But the Les Paul... George Lynch, right? Unchain the Night. So the point being is that there are all these great influences that you can just kind of, and it's totally okay because people who love guitar will kind of go, that was kind of Gary Moore-ish or kind of George Lynch-ish, and you're cashing a check that is totally public domain. Don't shy away from it. There's great stuff to be learned. The right hand, don't hit too hard. Okay, Milk, no single string sequences. Okay, I kind of hit some of that stuff there a minute ago. Now, one of the big things that I've been working on, see if I can actually play it because I haven't done it for a week or so. Okay, good. My fingers still let me remember. The idea is it's really easy to play cut and paste sequences, which is huge. That is to say, I'm in the key of G minor, G, A, B flat, C, D, E flat, F, and G. Know your notes. Which is 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, flat 7, 1. So the idea... So just straight sequences are how you learn to map it. Don't overplay the notes. Now, the idea is... All right. Bye, Moth. Up twice. Down twice. Up, down, down, up. And the idea is you plug that in. I flipped it around. This is where I haven't practiced the turnarounds there. By the way, this is a great demonstration of something to work on. And failure, point of failure is a great place to do it. The idea is I'm taking my up sequence. And I'm reversing it. So the idea is to take that last spot. and then kind of get the trend. And that was a transition there and just looping that business there. But the idea is that, again, is up, up, down, down, up, down, down, up. That's got some heat on it, right? And then just not playing the same sequence repetitively, even though there's some cool stuff about it. But being able to mix and match your sequences. All right, so then what I did there, it looked like an arpeggio. But really what I'm doing I'm taking paired. That should sound a little familiar. It was a little noisy down here. That would be a spot where if I kind of heard some of the slop I was serving up, I could go, oh, and just really, really conscious noise, right? That last little sequence. So the other thing you can practice is the last sequence, right note, where you're really working on that last little piece before you do the transition. That is, say, all right, hang on a second. The idea is that, and Guthrie talked about in one of his workshops at one of the guitar camps, is just on those transitions, just working on the seams. The idea is that sequence was up, up, down, down, up, down, down, up. Oh, I played the sequence wrong. All right. So that's actually the transition would be. That is the transition. The idea is we got up, up, down, down, up, down, down, up. And the next one's going to be an up, up. So the seam. E flat. You get the idea. I need to practice that as well. So here's the great thing is that I love mistakes. I'm going to say that again. I love mistakes because they're kind of like, all right, there, dude, that's where the work is. And I love that sense about the guitar because it will reveal itself to you. Okay, hang on a second here. Let me make sure I just make it through my list. Purposeful wrong notes and then the unpurposeful one. Stretch pentatonics. Oh boy. Okay, so here's the thing. I was doing something last night. The simple version of it is playing pattern number 5. And pattern number 1. bad. At the same time. But then, yeah. Up. And it does get a little, it's hard enough sometimes tracking up. Pentatonic on the third and second string across. I don't think I've actually made myself do that. Tracking the pentatonic across the third and second strings alone. But there we go. I'll work on that, but the idea is I'm literally just taking and B flat. The idea is know what note you played wrong. That was a B flat again. D sharp. And just work that stuff. There's nothing easy about that except for the practice. And that's what's really cool about this. Like, if you're really all in with the guitar thing, you're like, hey, you know what? I'm just going for it. And that just going for it spirit is actually, part of what, nobody likes to pick up the guitar and just going to go, wow, that totally sucked. So part of that leads us to playing the safe stuff that we play repetitively, but we are basically creating our own prison, if you will. We don't want to do that. Moving stretch pentatonics, okay, that'll work. Moving set sequences. Oh, right, okay. So again, Doppler. That high E string's a little low, so I'm gonna have to hit softer. I need to raise the bridge over. So that's the Al Di Meola. Let's back up a step. So one of the other things that I've been really, really working on, you heard a bad example of not worked on enough, is... Hang on. There we go. Not only how deep the pick is into the strings, but how hard I'm hitting. Now listen to this without the note. And there's the chirp, but there's also how much... Whoa, right? Add the note in. Now there are times where seemingly a disproportionate amount of pick actually sounds good. The problem is, gotta play it really light. I purposely kind of set myself up. This is kind of a strange transition because we go from this guy to this extended. But that making hard is sometimes good. And just targeting and isolating that will often work some wonders. All right, let me just dig back in. Six-string Brian, what's happening there, my man? I love your logo. Man, that's cool. All right, Fisherman Guitar, can you talk about ascending and descending runs that take you from one idea to another? Always a real struggle figuring out how to do, and always some of my favorite things in solos. Absolutely, let's go there now. So one of the things is this. You're describing, at the most basic level, three things. I'm not dumbing it down. I'm just kind of breaking it out. Where we start, the stairway up, and where we end. So the idea is if you have, even just to, and because here's the interesting thing is, what we're talking about, soloing in theory, our favorite solos, even if they weren't played as improvisation, have a tendency to sound and feel like they were improvised. As I've read the solo for Comfortably Numb, David Gilmour just recorded a bunch of takes. They spliced all that stuff together. He learned that solo and then played it with the feel of improvisation. That is to say, it wasn't an improvised solo, right? It was actually like, all right, here's the notes. But it came from things that he improvised. So when I'm talking about a Joe Satriani sitting down there recording something, he does that process just kind of like, hit record. Okay. And I've been in the studio with Joe. It's just like, it's like nothing you've ever seen. He's not a machine. He is just a guitar player. He's a guitar, they talked about actors, actress. He's a guitar player, He just sits down. You're just like, how is that possible? Larry's another great example. He just sits down and plays. You're like, wow, it's just like, the tap's on, the tap's off. He gets up and walks away. With Joe, the thing that, for me is that of all the players that are out there that are kind of that were the generation after Eddie, if you will, because for me he was, because I remember being in, the little teaching studio, and he was talking about Eddie and the things that he loved about Eddie and breaking that down when Joe was still just like the guitar teacher locally. And the idea is that he was that next generation. And the thing is that Joe has taken his shtick and turned it into something like an instantly recognizable. You can just like know it within two notes, right? Oh, hit the buzzer. That's just Satriani, right? But yet then he does a series of licks that never feel canned, but you're like, how does he do that? So the idea is that there is a certain amount that for us mere mortals, we have to figure out how we're going to kind of make these pieces happen, right? One of the things that I'm working on, so let's just say I'm going to take the G minor scale. And I'm taking, I talked about it before, so this is a great place to start. G, A, B flat, C, D, E flat, F, G, A, B flat. All right, so then you just map those in groups of three notes played twice. So, all right. So our resolution, our starting note is three parts. Where we start, Where we end, the pathway up. So we're literally kind of going, let's create a pathway. So at least we kind of go, we know what this is going to be. A little made up, mapped out, but you got to start somewhere. So the idea is we're taking again G, A, B flat, C, D, E flat, F, G, and then we're going to add that A on the top. And so our starting sequence is just G, A, B flat 2 times. Our ending sequence is F, F, G, A, G, F, G. And I'm purposely giving you one that kind of changes it up so it just doesn't sound so flippin' boring as E flat. Flippin' boring, right? So we're going. So that's 4, like 1, 2, 3, 4. Then and that way we kind of and it's kind of like it's got that thing, you know. What the hell? C, D, E flat. So just keep me an idea of what the notes are. C, D flat. Sorry, C, C, D flat. No. D, D, E flat, F, E flat, D. E flat, F, G, F, E. F, F, G, A, G, F, G. This is a method called the subdivision method. We're taking 8th note triplets 1 time for the sequence and then 16th note triplets twice. All right, the whole thing slowly. And at least it gives you an idea of how to start with something. We're going to keep working on this. You work on that, and you check back in maybe next week or the next week. Let me know how that's going. Great. It's a great question. And that, by the way, was the question. Again, Doug, can you talk about ascending or descending runs to take you from one idea to another? Always an area that I struggle on figuring out how to do, and always some of my favorite things in solo. So again, there are lots of other pathways, but just hang out there for right now. I've got a couple more things I want to go through, so I want to get there. Glad you dug the interval thing. That's, dude, just like, again, for anybody that's just tuning in, that was gonna. No, G and A. F sharp? No, E flat instead of E. All right, so let's talk about the names. Giant pause button there for a second. One of the very, 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 very important things that I'm working on in this mode mapping course is the idea of there's a multiple set of things happening here. Ultimately, when we got that head back moment, totally, we're hearing these things, and the reality is that this started off as a... But I'm like, that's not what I want to play. A little out of tune there, but you get the idea. It's learning to kind of go, there's where it is. Couple of ideas within the framework of that idea. One of the most important goals that I have for this mode mapping thing and all the teaching stuff that I'm getting ready to do is give people the ability to find the notes that are next door to the notes that they already know where they are, or next door to the notes that we're already going to map, so you can kind of go, I'm no longer flipping stuck in that quicksand. It's like cement boots. All I know is the notes where I know, so that's kind of what I play. I don't know how to find the notes next door. That head back thing is kind of going, I'm hearing something, right? So the original idea... So basically I'm playing the root, in this case the flat 6, 5, flat 7, back to the 6 or something like that. Right, I'm 1, flat 6, 5, flat 7, flat 6, 5, and flat 6. Kind of pedaling back and forth between the root there. But when I kind of... I wanted to, instead of starting with the 1, the flat 6, I was like, I'm hearing the 5. Gotta say, this one starts with, and this one, they start with the same sequence. I should say, they start with the same counter pedal. Because this is the note we're pedaling. So the idea is, I was like, I just heard it. And I knew I had to go. And it's just a matter of eventually kind of getting your fingers comfortable enough. Just go, well, of course I'm changing the pattern up because I can hear what it needs to be to play what I'm hearing. And most guitar players, I think, hear really cool stuff. They just don't know how to find the notes. So, wow, okay, let me back up a step. One of the things that I've been struggling with and kind of in the process of, like, the reality, let's just say you pick a guitar player that you know that you're just like, they just kind of suck. They always seem to play the wrong notes at the wrong time, and whatever it is, they don't have. I taught a bass player that didn't have time, and eventually I kind of went, you literally can't feel time. It's the only student I've ever said this to, and I said, you know what? Play for all the joy in the world, but this may not be your thing. You literally cannot feel time. I like literally one student out of thousands. I was like, whatever this time thing is, you do not have the ability to play it on your instrument. It was just one of those things. It's just like they were incapable of playing time. And I'm sharing this because like it's just kind of going. The basic element of I have to be able to hit quarter notes. They couldn't do 4/4 time. If you can't do 4/4 time, like after a month of like. That to say, and you can't do 4/4 time after a month. I finally went, this guy does not, whatever the gene is that feels time, I can't teach this guy to play time. I tried, and I finally went, this is the thing. But the vast majority, especially if you're watching this, you actually got it. My guess is you hear great things in your head. Helping you find a way to begin to approach putting some fingers to those things is ultimately the journey. Because ultimately, I can't make you sound like Joe Satriani, and I can't make you play like Steve Vai. I can't make you have the incredible tones and feel of Larry Mitchell. but I can point you in the right direction. And with some practice, you can begin to find the ways to begin to find the notes. And that's kind of that whole thing. That's just me kind of going, well, it's not that. And, you know, you got to understand, I'm a guitar player that's been stuck in boxes too. So I don't suffer from anything that you guys don't. Excellent, excellent. Jay, I actually don't really know any Lincoln Brewster licks. I hate to say it. Larry, you're a funny guy. I'm not even going to post that. This I'm going to post. Larry, I have, and it's not that I was posting it, not posting it out of not wanting to share what you had to say. I love you, dude. I have a couple of Les Pauls. I use them a lot for backing rhythm parts on productions. I like I use Tellys as well for different type of layering. Yes, no. So Larry, I would, to be continued. What a great player. Yeah, no. Larry is just Larry. There we go. They are all tools. Finding the right tool for the job. That's it. So you know. Awesome. There we go. I love it. Hey, so the other thing is Larry is on Tuesday nights. I'm going to forget the exact time, but make sure you check out Larry Mitchell on Tuesday. But you all already do check out Larry on Tuesday. But just as an aside, okay, we'll be there. There we go. Good. All right. What's going on, Frank? Great to see you, my man. Hello. Okay. All right. Let's see. Gabriel, rather. Sorry. Nope. I knew that one. Gabriel, great to see you, my man. I was thinking about you this week. Tony Librand, and by the way, how you digging the quad cortex, my man? Awesome. Mike Rand, miss you, my brother. He didn't like it. I was making mistakes. All right. Bonica, my dear friend. Vince, great to see you. Hello. Oh, thank you so much. Ken Paul Vino, my dear friend. Thank you so much. All right. So I still got stuff on the list here, and my first lesson of the day sent me a text saying that they weren't going to be able to join me. I think that's kind of what came in. Yep. So what that means is we have a minute more here. So I get a chance to make sure I get through my list here. Stretch pentatonics, moving set sequences, whammy. Well, that's not going to happen on this guitar. Dismounts. Okay, this gets back to the great question about like how do you take these, how do you get off the lick, right? So part of it is, and this is one of the things that I've been trying to do, and there are a couple of different approaches for this. One is you actually kind of go, all right, let me just map something so I can figure out how I can get through some sort of riff to a graceful dismount. And so sometimes it's a matter of going, all right, let me just create something again. Sorry. So whatever I'm coming out of, I kind of hit that a little, not on purpose. So you have a lick that you're like, okay, whatever I'm doing at the end, no. So I'm like, I don't care what I'm doing. And an idea if you can wrap them together. So that's one of the licks I'm working on, because the idea is, well, all right, we got these 3-note per string ideas. But what happens when we... One E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a. All right, so that is the, like, slow it down. So the idea is like, okay, well, even if it's just a repetitive sequence, no shame. You just go. Because that. Now, there are a couple of different ways you can play this little guy. Or, that is to say, if we were thinking about this, 1, 2, and flat 3. Flat 3, 2, 1. Flat 3, 2, 1. Flat 3, 1. Or flat 3, 2, 1. Flat 3, 2, 1. Flat 3, 2. Oh, no, no, no. Yeah. You have to do it too. All right. I'm going to do it slowly, but it's flipping between ending on the 1 and the 2. And the thing about those licks that's really hard is the further you get up the neck, you're like... So the idea is just working slow. So that allowed me to go. All right, so you get the idea. What a great lick. And I've been working on that basic concept for a while. It's not my concept. I've been working on trying to master it. Because the idea is, how do we take 3-note groupings? That's basically 2 3s and a 2. Which is 6 plus 2 is 8. So that's really 1 E and... And that will make your brain hurt. E flat. And that, and that gives me the ability to go from into my little kind of A, B flat, no, sorry, B flat, A, G, F, G, G. Also thought of as flat 3, bend from the 2 to the flat 3, to the 2, to the 1, flat 7 to the 1. No, it's not a bend, my bad. Flat, bend from the 2 to the flat 3, to the, and then unbend to the 2, to the 1, flat 7, 1, 1, and then bend from the flats under 1. Not like that. And if you really want to mess with yourself like I just did right now, which is kind of, if you want to grow muscles, flip and go to the gym and lift some weights, right? So the point being is I switched between the 2. And had that same string noise. Got rid of that time. All right, you get the idea. All right, Richard Gonzalez, what's going on? Love the effortless for. Hold on, let me see if I can. Oh wait, hold on, I'm going out of order here. Stop making it look so easy. Hang on a second. Still wait on my quad. Okay, coming though. You gear fanatic. Stop making it look so easy. So Ken, the funny thing is, first of all, I appreciate that, but here's the deal. For most people, all of this is attainable with some practice, and it's a matter of the which anything. I mean, here's the thing. This is a finite list of things that we can just kind of go, okay. And the whole point of this, is going, let's break it down into pieces and then kind of put some legs to it. So literally, even if you just need to go, in the first day, it's literally awesome. A week later, great. But the idea is if you stick with it, all you're seeing is the results of a crap ton of practice. And that's all it is. There is talent. That poor kid that couldn't play time, I loved him to death, even if he did call me Douglas. Don't ever think about it. Douglas, like, you really want to unendear yourself. He's actually a lovely guy, but Douglas, like, no. Even my parents wouldn't have gotten away with that. Lovely guy, but just, he literally couldn't feel time, right? There's a very finite number of people. The point being is all this stuff. Have you ever seen, in fact, everybody here has somebody they know. It's like they didn't have a huge amount of talent, but they spent a bunch of time practicing and they got good because they could play licks. And eventually they kind of went. And there are certain guitar players, and I will not name any names, and they certainly have not been named today, that you kind of go, I can hear every other guitar player in their playing but them. But they can play really well, but it's completely unoriginal. You're like, oh, there's the Paul Gilbert lick. There's this other lick. There's one guy who I love, and he's one of my favorite people. I love him, but every time I hear him play, I'm like, there's the Paul Gilbert lick. There's the Yngwie lick. There's the so-and-so lick. It feels like all they've done is cobbled a bunch of other people's licks together. That's not what I want you to be doing, if I were to say what I want you to be doing. But let's just, you're here, so that's what I want you to be doing is kind of going, the notes that you're hearing that you don't know how to put fingers to, that's the journey. That's the best part about what I get a chance to do. It's like, so cool. I'm what I would describe as almost famous. I've done a bunch of cool things. Collectively, they add up to a bunch of amazing experiences, but it's not like I put out this record with this band. But I will let you in on the secret. Think about all the people that you know that have put out this record with this band. We're big. It's almost always this. There's almost nothing worse in life than kind of having had that mountaintop moment, and everything else is the aftermath. I was really thinking about this. I was like, I've never had that. And, I've had some amazing experience, which have been their own mountaintop moments, but not like, kind of touring the giant stadiums and you're like, people are they know the name of your band, even if they don't know your name per se. But the thing is that it's elusive and it ends. Most of the time it ends badly. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. Nah, I wouldn't. So, just kind of what it is like own your journey and honor your journey. Don't kind of, it's easy to kind of go, well, I used to have this or that, or I used to be so good, or I used to have so much time. It's like, you know what? One of the things that I'm constantly having to do because I'm overly busy, which reflects so many of us, I just need to take a quick look at my schedule here and make sure I'm not now into my first lesson, which I think I just might be. I am, no, good. I'm not. Okay. Is that, we sometimes live, when I was in my teens, I could do that. And I feel that same pain. But the thing is, I don't let it turn into, it's kind of, I don't let it get infected. I'm like, okay, well, what am I going to do to change that? And I really realize, I think there's a bunch of people that I connect with that at one point they really had a moment in their playing where they look back and go, man, when I was 24 or whatever it was, man, I picked up the guitar and it was effortless. And now it feels like I have to work at it. So I'm going to let you in on the secret. Being as busy as I am, there are times that I kind of have to pick up the guitar and go, starting again. Like last week, I literally was in bed horizontal for 6 days. And I picked up the guitar with a tired body that had been sick and went, oh, this again. All right, man up, biatch, get to work. I was like, fine, I can do that. And all of a sudden, part of what's happened, my buddy Russell, who I love dearly. By the way, the people that I met at these guitar camps, you are one of the most important fabrics of my life, and everybody else too. But the point being is like, it's been just life changer for me. The point being is Russell's kind of put this fire under my butt about this modes course. I've been kind of planning on it, but now I am actively mapping this and I figured instead of making diatonic theory and harmony, version 2.0, I'm going to make these little micro courses such that people can kind of go, I did it, I completed it, it's done. They'll still be a little over the top, but the idea is if you can, and you can break it down into pieces. I started to talk about this a little bit earlier. I think 99.99% guitar players would love to be able to play laterally, linearly, and diagonally. And at least know how to be able to play G major and its relative modes up and down the neck laterally, be able to play on ideally every pair, each individual string linearly and pairs of strings linearly, and then also diagonally. And so, because what it means is like, hey, here's the on-ramp. Because again, one of the great questions that was in there was like, hey, how do I do these longer runs from the bottom of the neck to the top of the neck? And for me, I kind of talked about the walk. Now, there are specific... where I can take a pentatonic and map it. Well, it's flipping totally legit. Because if I, instead of just going... that's just going... and having a resolution done, fourth and third string. And all that is... and you can bet your left shoe, that's kind of how I had to start. Like, oh. I did some sequence where I mixed on. Right. Let's make it hard. So that's basically should be a 16. 8 and 8. No, that'll be 6 and 6 and 4. Right. So that's 1, 2. This is a 6. So basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then a 4. That's basically playing pattern number 1, middle 2 strings. Pattern number 2. Pattern number 3. Why am I playing G sharp? Two 6s and a 4. 2 6s and a 4. 2 6s and a 4. You guessed it. All right, now the idea, flipping, splitting it between multiple parts. That's flipping hard. And that last note is the one that gets chopped off. So slow it down. Close enough. All right. The idea is creating some pathways and just kind of going, all right, then you start to drop other sequences in there. Let me just say one thing. Basically, what I was doing was creating numeric sequences that harmonically map out to 16th notes. So if you think about a grid of 16th notes, 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a, basically 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a, just mapping a measure of 16th notes. Sorry? All right, now one of the other questions that invariably people are having, like, what about the fingering thing? And what about the left hand? Anybody that studied with me knows, get that thumb down. That's the thumb slap, not the face slap. There are times... Now that's a great example. Now there are certain types of things that I literally, my pinky doesn't reach there. But that, and there are sometimes, you know, you can just get rid of the pinky and do it. But the reality is there are times that we're going to do things that are using a, I could probably go, and do that, but when I want to be able to go, And be able to go straight into some sort of... And that, you know, went back to the thumb, but bringing that classical hand position is going to enable you to get to sequences that otherwise you're going to have, there's going to be certain places that you're not going to be able to run all the way up and down the neck because some of these stretches. Right, I can play that with the thumb over the top of the neck, but when you really want to start cutting loose, you're just going to need to bring the thumb down. In terms of the positioning, I'm actually taking what I would work with my students on in terms of the actual fingering from the pentatonic. Basically, that's 1-3-1-3, 1-4-1-3, 1-3 stretch 1-3, 1-3-1-3, 1-4-1-4, and 1-3-1-3. I have a lesson that starts in about 4 minutes, so I want to make sure that I don't start that lesson late. The good news is I'm kind of so here's the thing. It's Chester. Hi, first of all, or Christopher rather. So the whole thing is that I am absolutely guilty of charged of 16th note triplet and 8th note triplet crime. And the problem for me is that, you know, I'm kind of like... And it just kind of, well, especially with that ending there, but... There are times that I just go there, out of habit. Break the habit. That is to say, you're saying like, hey, this is where you're stuck. It's a great place to be able to be stuck because it means you're like, let me just downshift a little bit. Oh snap! And that's where these other. So take one of the progressions that you just like, I just gotta be jamming, and make yourself not play anything that's faster than an 8th note triplet. Just go, not allowed. And you're gonna find that other version of yourself. And that's kind of the whole thing. That's what I do all day long. I'm like, all right, you've worn that thing out, or like, that's just too fast. Like playing over the Gary Moore thing. I can play 16 note triplet and start to do it. I'm like, dude, you're just missing it. That's me talking to myself, by the way. Thank you, Patrick. Really appreciate it. With great pleasure. Thank you so much. We're going to be ramping things up here because these lessons, Jim, what's going on, my friend? These Saturday's my teaching day. And so I think for the next while, we're just going to be talking about playing guitar and teaching. I'm really kind of in this moment. I have to be careful because I get myself all excited about something. Christopher, with great pleasure, my friend. I get super excited about like, I'm going to do this, but like right now I'm on this, I've got a flipping fire about helping people get better at guitar. And guess what? What better thing can I help entertain people and engage people with? And they'll be like, I got better this week because I tuned into this live stream. I'm tuning in next week. I want to make the most of your time, and I want to make the most of my time. What a great win and what a great process. Do me a favor. I've got to go here. Next week, I don't know exactly what I'm going to be teaching on, but I'm going to be teaching on something. I will put up an advanced message. Kid, what's going on, my man? Thank you so much. Matt Morris, have a great day. Thank you. So when I'll share a graphic earlier in the week. If you guys see that come out, if you could share that on your socials, I would really appreciate it. I want to blow this thing up, but I want to do it for the benefit of people like you that want to get better at the guitar. And we all know a couple of guitar players, so if you'd be so kind as to share this, I'd really appreciate it. It's not a must, but it is an ask. But here's my part of this. I will bust my own chops to just kind of go, how do we make you a better guitar player? What are the obvious things that we can do, and just make it happen? Shane, what a pleasure. Great to see you, my man. Shane Bernard. Hello, my friend. Canadian journey. Holy cow. I knew Shane when he was about this tall. Awesome. All right, you guys, thank you so much. I have a lesson that starts now. Much love. Thank you so much for hanging out. Have fun with this. There's some good stuff. I'm going to go back and watch it. Maybe I'll learn a thing or two. Much love. God bless.